Three, two, one. Yo, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy Nixie coming back with another bullseye of a tutorial here today on the channel. I want to show you guys how you can help your vocals cut through a little bit more in the mix. So let's not waste no time. Let's get to listening to this music and dropping these gems. Let's go.
I've been shopping in Milan, grande, spinning big racks because I can. MX black card in my hand. This white dude running through ran. I can't pronounce the shit worth a damn. This drip handcraft Italian. Your mouth just shopping in Milan. Bitch got her pieces, designer thesis, incoming creases, sweet baby Jesus. Supercar keyless, feet off the meters. 100 racks on clothes, they say it's needless. Find a designer, catch me in my lineup. Handcraft attire, one single buyer, never one prior. Pressure applier, give me nothing less than best. That's all.
Okay, so you guys get a general understanding of the song that we're working with today. Really dope female artist that, I did a couple of songs with. I actually did her whole EP, and oh my God, I love every single song. We just went crazy on this. So if you guys do like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to check out the Patreon where we drop them exclusive group private gems. So you guys can check it out. If you like this information, it's great information that I consistently give. Go ahead and check out the Patreon because there's even more of it. Okay, so understanding how to make a vocal cut through the mix. It's actually funny because I feel like music is something where it's like musical chairs. It's a game that is always changing. The music game is always changing. I feel like back in the 2000s when you Dr. Dre, Eminem, 50 Cent, I feel like the vocal style was having vocals that cut through but actually sit in the middle with all of the music and everything like that. But I feel like nowadays it's kind of changed in the modern music. Now the vocals are really, really up front, almost sounding like they're on top of the beat. I had one of my subscribers ask me what is about, leveling the beat and all that stuff. And honestly, I would tell you that every song depends, every song depends, because some songs where they're like, atmospheric, you kind of do want it to sit back into the music and blend. But for rap music and how I feel about modern trap rap music is most of the time the vocals are cutting through. They're cutting through over the beat, like almost to the point where it's like you feel like the vocals are just one step in front of the music, so you can hear all the articulation and everything. And I'm gonna show you guys a couple ways to do that. First thing that we gotta understand is about human beings, like how we grew up in nature and the environment. Our ears are actually tuned to hear a certain frequency, which is called the hell frequency. It's actually in the Ks. You see somewhere around here in the Ks, like 1K, 2K, 3K, 4K, 5K. Everybody's voice is different, and also the microphone that you're using might enhance or be reducing the K frequencies. I think the K frequencies are very important because how you manage it in a mix can determine whether the vocal cut through or not. Let's look at this example of how I did it on my EQ. So with her vocal, I was really scooping out a lot of the bottom. And that's something also important to understand too. Sometimes when you scoop out the bottom, you make things kind of appear a little bit more articulate. So the very first thing I always go for is starting to cut off a little bit of the lower part of the vocal. So let's also pay attention to this part. So I'm gonna bypass both of them in and out, but I'm gonna start with just the yellow one so we can concentrate on how it adds clarity, how you can start to hear everything cut through a little more.
In Milan, grande, spinning big racks because I can. MX black card in my hand. This white dude running through ran. I can't pronounce the shit worth a damn. This drip handcraft Italian. Your mouth just shopping in Milan. Bitch got her pieces, designer thesis, incoming creases, sweet baby Jesus. Supercar keyless, feet off the meters. 100 racks on clothes, they say it's needless. Find a designer, catch me in my lineup. Handcraft attire, one single buyer, never one prior.
So there's a couple of different ways to approach this. Sometimes you can do kind of like a broad EQ move, kind of boosting all of the Ks, like 1K, 2K, 3K. That's kind of what I did with her vocal because she's a female artist. And I feel like sometimes female vocals, they, over a rap beat specifically, they might need just a little bit of lift somewhere around, like kind of like in a broad overall sense. Because I love how her voice sounds. It sounds really fairy-like. That's the only thing I can reminisce about. It kind of reminds me of like Tinkerbell or a Disney movie with the wand moving around around. That's kind of how her voice is, like very fairy like, but the beat is really hard. Boom, boom. It kind of got that Gunner 808 to it. So I did like a broad move in the K's to kind of lift the vocal up a little bit. And also another thing too about the K's is it's also about positioning. Listen to how when I bring in and out that little lift, you know, that little broad lift around the K's, 1K, 2K, 3K, 5K. You see how this is a broad move that's boosting everything? Pay attention to how it sounds like her vocal is just a little bit in front of you. Like without it, it kind of sounds like she's a little bit back, but also with it, it kind of sounds she just took a step forward, you know? So it's also about positioning, getting stuff to cut through.
In Milan, grande, spinning big racks because I can. MX black card in my hand. This white dude running through Randy Ran. I can't pronounce the shit worth a damn. This drip handcraft Italian. I'm out here shopping in Milan. Bitch got her pieces, designer thesis, incoming creases. Sweet baby Jesus, supercar keyless, feet off the meters. 100 racks on clothes, they say it's needless. Find a designer, catch me in my lineup. Handcraft attire, one single buyer, never one prior. Pressure applier, give me none less than best. That's on my soul. That Fendi too cold.
All right, so we get it. You know, this region right here, our human ear is actually tuned to that bit because that's the frequency where babies cry. When babies say wham, wham, when we was in the village, we was like, you know, like Fred Flintstone, you know, type of time like that with dinosaurs and all that shit. You know, the first human beings, our ear is literally tuned to the K frequencies because that's where a human vocal is at. So of course, you know, different animals, different type of like animals in nature, their voices, like their hearing is different. But for humans, us specifically, it's the Ks. It's the Ks. So we can use that to our advantage because if you can just understand how to manage the K frequencies right here, that's pretty important. Also listening to the hi-hat and all that stuff like that, and also the melody of the music, like how you navigate around the Ks, you know what I mean? You kind of don't want the Ks to step all over each other. I mean the frequencies in the two-track beat, which is like 2K, 3K, 4K, like you don't want them to clash against each other because that's gonna make the vocal kind of sound a little bit harsh or a little bit too overloaded. So it's all about managing kind of like the transients and the consonants using the basic EQ like that. Another great way that I like to do that is a plugin right here. Very simple, a great plugin. It's called the AutoTune. Impact enhancer. So just in general, a great way of helping your vocals cut through a mix is through parallel compression, using contrast. Parallel compression adds punch. They say it adds punch, but when you really think about it in reality, what you're doing is you're taking a squash signal that actually lacks dynamics and you're putting it over the vocal. So now you have a point of reference. You know what a flat pancake is. So now that I put this full, you know, type of burger right in front of you, you'd be like, damn, like, okay, I understand the difference between a flat bun, which is the pancake, and a burger bun, which is kind of a little bit more fuller because you have the point of reference versus where if I only had a burger bun like that, you would be like, you know what, that's kind of a flat burger bun, you know, because you have no other point of reference. So parallel compression, that's what it does. It gives you a point of reference. I like the vocal impact enhancer by AutoTune because it's really simple. You know, using something like this actually kind of reminds me of RVOX, you see, because on RVOX, the gain button is actually kind of like a limiter. So this kind of has like the same style, like where it says ceiling, this is a limiter. And this on the RVOX too, it's like a limiter. Okay, cool. So I like to use this on parallel and I like to push this impact. It kind of has a way of like actually literally squashing the vocal and I'm blending it back in. But it also has like this transient enhancing, you know, type of situation that it's blending back in. But you got to understand that transient's that's the cutting through. That's where the vocal's cutting through. You feel me? Everybody's voice is different. Also, the speed that they're rapping at is also gonna play into like kind of like how you work this range. But just understand, it's the Ks, 1K, 2K, 3K, 4K, 5K, you know, all the way kind of up to 5K is where the, you know, the character, the articulation, the clarity. People like to use a microphone like the U87 because the U87 literally has a bump in it. It literally has like a bump in it towards the higher Ks, like I think like 8K or something like that, or 7K. And people always say, wow, you know, when you rap with a U87, I don't know what it is, but the vocals just cut through. Understanding the human ear, how it works, okay? That microphone, the U87, has a bump in the K, so that's why everything sounds like it's clear. I was recording somebody with a U87, they said, oh, the vocals sound so clear. they sound so clear, like I can hear everything. And that's because the frequency response to that microphone. So understanding that stuff, we have the vocal impact enhancer. And I love how it just brings some juice, how it just kind of takes the knife a little bit and it just, puts it up against the board and it sharpens it like Gordon Ramsay, it's helping the hell frequency. Gordon Ramsay, he talks about the hell kitchen. Well, we mixing right now in the kitchen and we trying to boost the hell frequency of the vocal. So listen to how the auto-tune impact enhancer helps everything cut through.
Spinning big racks because I can. MX black card in my hand. This white dude running through Randy Rand. I can't pronounce the shit worth a damn. This drip handcraft Italian. Your mouth just shopping in Milan. Bitch got our pieces, designer thesis. Income increases, sweet baby Jesus. Supercar keyless, feet off the meters. 100 racks on clothes, they say it's needless. Sign a designer.
When I get on top of a plugin like this, I love it. I just push up the impact and then I start to play a little bit with the gain. But also pay attention too, look at the meters. Even though it sounds like the vocal cuts through a little bit more, the input is actually higher than the output. So the vocal is actually a little bit quieter coming out of this parallel processor.
Spinning big racks because I can. MX black card in my hand. This white dude running through Randy Rand. I can't pronounce the shit worth a damn. This drip handcraft Italian. Your mouth just shopping in Milan. Bitch got our pieces, designer thesis. Income increases, sweet baby Jesus. Supercar keyless, feet off the meters. 100 racks on clothes, they say it's needless. Find a designer.
So even though on my parallel compressor, it's still coming out a little bit, quiet. It's coming out quieter nominally. It still sounds higher, like it's higher in volume, because that's what it's doing. It's enhancing the transients. It's squashing, the K's. It's squashing the cut, all the consonants, and it's blending it back in. So that's a great way of helping get your vocal to cut through the mix. And RVOX is another great plugin too. I love to use this to get more vocal presence, okay? So that's another great way. EQ, compression, getting your vocals to cut through the mix is a mindset. Okay, in the last ditch effort of getting your vocals to cut through a mix, I like to use Soothe. So I got my own kind of like custom preset where I'm side chaining the 2-track beat to the Soothe, right? Really quickly, I'm gonna show y'all this trick. And what I like to do is I will only be cutting the mid channel. So on my balance, I have it on only mid. I have it on mid side mode. So I'm only cutting the mid-range part of the vocal pretty much, okay? And it's not affecting any of the low end or it's not affecting any of the high end, just the Ks. You see 1K all the way about 5K. The K frequencies, that's where the human voice is at. And this kind of helps the vocal cut through a little bit more using this trick of sidechaining the vocal to Soothe. And it's good because Soothe, all it does is only cut what it needs to cut versus where like a F6, it might start cutting other melodies and other parts in the beat. So I love to use Soothe in this way. And of course you got to tweak the other settings and stuff like that. But let's look at this. The volume of the vocal will also change too, because now you'll be able to hear more of the vocal because more of the Ks are cleared out the way. So when I do a technique like this, I actually like to maybe start to rebalance my lead vocal as well as my 2-track beat. Let's look real fast.
I've been shopping in Milan. Grande. Spinning big racks because I can. MX black card in my hand. This white dude running through Randy Rand. I can't pronounce the shit worth a damn. This drip handcraft Italian. Your mouth just shopping in Milan. Bitch got our pieces, designer thesis. Income increases, sweet baby Jesus. Supercar keyless, feet off the meters. 100 racks on clothes, they say it's needless. Find a designer, catch me in my lineup. Handcraft attire, one single buyer, never one prior. Pressure applier, give me nothing less than best, that's on my soul. That Fendi too cold, watch rose gold. Buy and hold out, no it can't be sold. Fly across the world just to get it if it's worth it. Designer said he aimed to get it damn near luxury purchase.
So usually in a situation like that, I would only let it be doing like maybe like 1 to 2 dB, 3 at the most, because I don't want to start cutting out the melody and all that stuff like that and all the power in the mid channel. But that's the good thing. If I was to allow it to touch a little bit lower, then it might start touching the kick and all that stuff like that. I just wanted to kind of like duck the melodies in the beat where the vocal is lying at, where the clashing is at, kind of helping everything cut through better. So those are the tricks that I have here for you guys today. If you did enjoy these gems, these outside of the box ways to get your vocal to cut through, go ahead and drop a like or comment down below. Let me know how you guys like this video. If you got any more suggestions, drop it down below, as well as don't forget to check out the Patreon where we got these live, exclusive, private gems where we go even more into depth. So I just want to say thanks a lot, my YouTube family. Appreciate y'all now. Peace.